fellow collectors. Frank here, back with another TTM success video. Got one in the box today that I would like to share. It's a special one here, looking festive here in this Christmas season. And we got a 1-for-1 in 7 days out of Hartford, Connecticut. We have Linda Ruth Tossetti. This is the granddaughter of Babe Ruth. Keep swinging, Linda Ruth Tossetti. In this card I have here, this 2001 Flair Greats of the Game. So Linda Ruth Tossetti is the granddaughter of the legendary Babe Ruth. She is considered a leading authority on the life and times of her fabled grandfather from an intimate family point of view. Her striking resemblance to her grandfather showed she is a direct descendant through her mother, Dorothy Ruth Peroni, Babe Ruth's only biological daughter. It is the goal of Miss Tossetti to see Major League Baseball retire her grandfather's number 3 as a final honor and tribute to the enormous contribution Babe Ruth made to the national pastime of baseball. Miss Tossetti resides in Connecticut with her husband, Andy. So, brief biography here of Mr. Babe Ruth. George Herman Ruth Jr., otherwise known as the Babe, the Bambino, the Sultan of SWAT, was born on February 6, 1895 in Baltimore, Maryland. He played 22 seasons in the majors, from 1914 to 1935 as a left-handed pitcher and a left-handed batter with the hometown team, the Boston Red Sox, not for 1914 to 1919, New York Yankees for 1920 to 1934, and the hometown team of the Boston Braves in 1935. He was inducted into the MLB Hall of Fame in 1936, the first class, with Ty Cobb, Walter Johnson, Christy Matheson, and Honus Wagner. We all know the Babe's story. He is one of the greatest, if not the greatest player of all time. However, I'm not going to repeat all of his accomplishments here in baseball. We all know about it. We know about how the Babe was sold from the Boston Red Sox to the Yankees, and about the so-called curse of the Bambino, which was allegedly broken after the Red Sox won their first World Series in 86 years. The first since the Babe was a young stud playing for the Boston Red Sox in 1918. I say allegedly because I don't believe the Babe was one to put curses or hexes out there. And it now seems that the Babe is more of a legend than a man. But I'm going to talk about the man today. You might know that at the age of 7, the Babe was sent away by his parents to St. Mary's Industrial School for Boys, a reformatory and orphanage in Baltimore. His parents had apparently given him little supervision growing up to what led to delinquency. His father, George Sr., was a saloon owner in Baltimore. You might know about Babe's tendency towards carousing about town during his major league career. The Babe was a lifelong Catholic who would sometimes attend Mass after carousing all night, and he became a well-known member of the Knights of Columbus. And you may know as well, perhaps due to his upbringing, he had a soft spot for children and often visit orphanages, schools, and hospitals throughout his life, often avoiding publicity. So he made one such visit months before his death on December 10th, 1947, an event where he would play Santa Claus at the Hotel Oster in Manhattan for a group of kids who had been treated with a specific regimen for polio. The Babe was diagnosed the year before with a rare form of cancer. Due to the cancer, the Babe was in excruciating pain. The cancer was growing in a place way behind his sinus passages where it was inoperable. His left eye was shut. He was on intravenous medication. It hurt to talk and his head was killing him. At first, no one had any idea who was behind the white beard. Reporters and newsreel film crews were careful not to give away their surprise. Ruth managed to conceal his identity and his discomfort. Behind the beard, physically, the Babe was not his old self. His face was caved in. He had trouble keeping his beard up on his face. He had lost tons of weight. His speaking voice was like sandpaper on a bad piece of wood. However, the same heart and care of the Babe was there as he struggled as he met one kid after another, asking what they wanted for Christmas. At the end of the event, he pulled down his beard in front of the children with a smile on his face and gave everybody this Christmas wish.
I want to take this opportunity to wish all the children, not only in America, but all over the world, a very Merry Christmas.
But there's more to the story. Also, a while back I came across an article, some may say a testimony, that the Babe wrote with the help of friends shortly before his death while battling with cancer in 1948. And here's where faith, no, not a curse, of the Bambino comes in. The article, the testimony, is called Babe Ruth on the Foundation of Faith, which was published in Guidepost magazine in 1948 after his death on August 16, 1948. During a previous version of this channel, I decided to narrate this article, add pictures from the life and times of Babe Ruth in it. It is a side of Babe Ruth that you may not know. With his cool return from his granddaughter, Miss Linda Ruth Tossetti, thank you very much for this awesome return here. I really do appreciate it, and I wish you and your family a very happy holiday season, a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. And with the coming of Christmas, I thought this would be a good time to repost this narration that I did. I just want to make one note. In my narration, I mistakenly read the fatal day of the Babe's death was October 16th, but it was actually August 16th, 1948. So, I hope you enjoy. Take care. God bless. Merry Christmas. Peace.
Guidepost Classics. Babe Ruth on the Foundation of Faith. In this story from October 1948, legendary baseball star Babe Ruth shares how his religious training impacted his life and career. This is Babe Ruth's last message. It was written with the help of friends Joe L. Brown of the MGM Studios, which produced the Babe Ruth story, Paul Carey and Melvin G. Lowenstein, not long before the Babe died. The Guidepost office received it on the fatal day, October 16, 1948. Bringing it to our readers as a notable guidepost to the solution of the serious problem of juvenile delinquency. It is the simple, honest story of a man who relearned what faith meant, and who says so humbly and proudly, knowing it was his most valuable legacy to his fellow man. By George Herman Ruth. Bad boy Ruth, that was me. Don't get the idea that I'm proud of my harum-scarum youth. I'm not. I simply had a rotten start in life. It took me a long time to get my bearings. Looking back at my youth, I honestly don't think I knew the difference between right and wrong. I spent much of my early boyhood living over at my father's saloon in Baltimore. When I wasn't living over it, I was in it, soaking up the atmosphere. I hardly knew my parents. St. Mary's Industrial School in Baltimore, where I was finally taken, has been called an orphanage and a reform school. It was in fact a training school for orphans, incorrigibles, delinquents, and runaways picked up on the streets of the city. I was listed as an incorrigible. I guess I was. Perhaps I would always have been, but for Brother Matthias, the greatest man I have ever known, and for the religious training I received there, which has since been so important to me. I doubt if any could have straightened me out except a power over and above man, the appeal of God. Iron rod discipline couldn't have done it, nor all the punishment and reward systems that could have been devised. God had an eye out for me, just as He has for you, and He was pulling for me to make the grade. As I look back now, I realize that knowledge of God was a big crossroads with me. Got one thing straight, and I wish all kids did. that God was boss. He was not only my boss, but boss over all my bosses. Up till then, like all bad kids, I hated most of the people who had control over me and could punish me. I began to see that I had a higher person to reckon with who never changed, whereas my earthly authorities changed from year to year. Those who bossed me had the same self-battles. They, like me, had to account to God. I also realized that God was not only just, but merciful. He knew we were weak and that we had all found it easier to be stinkers than good sons of God, not only as kids, but all through our lives. That clear picture, I'm sure, would be important to any kid who hates a teacher, who resents a person in charge. This picture of my relationship to man and God was what helped relieve me of bitterness and rancor and desire to get even. I've seen a great number of he-men in my baseball career, but never one equal to Brother Matthias. He stood 6 feet 6 and weighed 250 pounds. He was all muscle. He could have been successful at anything he wanted to in life, and he chose the church. It was he who introduced me to baseball. Very early he noticed that I had some natural talent for throwing and catching. He used to back me in a corner of the big yard at St. Mary's and bunt a ball to me by the hour, correcting mistakes I made with my hands and feet. I never forgot the first time I saw him hit a ball. The baseball in 1902 was a lump of mesh, but Brother Matthias would stand at the end of the yard, throw the ball up with his left hand and give it a terrific belt with the bat he held in his right hand. The ball would carry 350 feet, a tremendous knock in those days. I would watch him bug-eyed. Thanks to Brother Matthias, I was able to leave St. Mary's in 1914 and begin my professional career with the famous Baltimore Orioles. Out on my own, free from the rigid rules of a religious school, boy, did it go to my head. I began to really cut capers. I strayed from the church, but don't think I forgot my religious training. I just overlooked it. I prayed often and hard, but like many irrepressible young fellows, the swift tempo of living shoved religion into the background. So what good was all the hard work and selfish interest of the brothers, people who would argue? You can't make kids religious, they say, because it just won't take. Send kids to Sunday school and they too often end up hating it in the church. Don't you believe it? Far as I'm concerned, I think as far as most kids go, once religion sinks in, it stays there, deep down. The lads who get religious training get it where it counts, in the roots. They may fail it, but it never fails them. When the score is against them, or they get a bum pitch, the unfailing something inside will be there to draw on. I've seen it with kids. I know from the letters they write me. The more I think of it, the more important I feel it is to give kids the works as far as religion is concerned. They'll never want to be holy. They'll act like tough monkeys in contrast. But somewhere inside will be a solid little chapel. It may get dusty from the neglect, but the time will come when the door will be open with much relief. But the kids can't take it if we don't give it to them. I've been criticized as often as I've been praised for my activities with kids on the grounds that what I did was for publicity. Well, criticism doesn't matter. I never forgot where I came from. Every dirty-faced kid I see is another useful citizen. No one knew better than I what it meant not to have your own home, a backyard, your own kitchen, and icebox. That's why all through the years, even when the big money was rolling in, I never forgot St. Mary's, Brother Matthias, and the boys I left behind. I kept going back. As I look back, those memories when I let the kids down, they were my worst. I guess I was so anxious to enjoy life to the fullest that I forgot the rules and ignored them. Once in a while you can get away with it, but not for long. When I broke training, the effects were felt by myself and by the ball team, and even by the fans. While I drifted away from the church, I did have my own altar, a big window of my New York apartment overlooking the city lights. Often I would kneel before that window and say my prayers. I would feel quite humble then. I'd ask God to help me not make such a fool of myself and pray that I'll measure up to what He expected of me. In December 1946, I was in French Hospital, New York, facing a serious operation. Paul Carey, one of my oldest and closest friends, was by my bed one night. "They're going to operate in the morning, babe," Paul said. "Don't you think you ought to put your house in order?" I didn't dodge the long, challenging look in his eyes. I knew what he meant. For the first time I realized that death might strike me out. And I nodded, and Paul got up, called in the chapel, and I made a full confession. "I'll return in the morning and give you Holy Communion," the chaplain said. "But you don't have to fast." "I'll fast," I said. I didn't even have a drop of water. As I lay in bed that evening, I thought to myself what a comforting feeling to be free from fear and worries, and now could simply turn them over to God. Later on, my wife brought me in a letter from a little kid in New Jersey. "Dear babe," he wrote, "everybody in the 7th grade class is pulling and praying for you. I am enclosing a medal which, if you wear, will make you better. Your pal, Mike Quinlan. P.S. I know this will be your 61st homer. You'll hit it." I asked them to pin the miraculous medal to my pajama coat. I've worn the medal constantly ever since. I'll wear it to my grave.